Well, it's always a beautiful time to look at how ready INEC is in terms of conducting the off-season polls. Minds are really boggling over the glitches that were witnessed in the previous general election. And it is expected that, well, a lot of experience that have been garnered or gathered in the course of the previous election by INEC leadership, they must be finding the nitty-gritty to put all of these issues or critical challenges that seem to, be embroidered in the previous election, in the past, and make sure that the polls are forthcoming on Saturday at Imo and, of course, Kogi, Bayelsa will be a very clean, free, fair, credible polls. Well, joining me to, in the conversation on how to deepen the electoral process in terms of betting democracy is a financial influential, a seasoned public affairs analyst, Mr. I14 Omogbe. Thanks for joining me, Omogbe.
Good morning, everyone.
Well, you witnessed what transpired, in the previous election, general election. And we couldn't wait to see how the stories about, the credibility of the polls will pan out in the courts. But, well, we can say that a lot of experiences have been gathered by the INEC leadership. So what's your take, or what are your thoughts in terms of the off-season polls taking place this Saturday, November 11? We'll look at Imo, Bayelsa, Kogi. But let's first of all look at the Imo state, for instance. It's been said that from the 27 local councils, about 15 are embroidered in issues of insecurity. And there's this palpable fear that this could lead to voter apathy. What's your thought?
Thank you once again, Philip, for having me this morning. As regards the off-season election that is going to take place in Imo, Kogi and Bayelsa this Saturday, but particularly in Imo, we have seen that in recent times they have this, outside the issue of election is coming, they have this continuous insecurity challenges. And one will not rule it out that is a concern for this Saturday election. First and foremost, I think the INEC officials, the umpire body, they've assured everybody that most of their preparations are on 90% ready, and we intend to still have confidence in them anyway, because we have seen a case where you, in a classroom, you tell, after lecturing a particular topic in school, you ask the students, do you understand? They say, yes, they understand. But you set exam for them, they will still fail. So we've seen cases, or we've seen several times they've actually told us that they are ready until that day anyway. But however, the security challenge is a concern, and I think we should be very, very much worried about it. Me, personally, I'm worried because irrespective of the fact that the police and the army, they've assured that the process will be well manned by their personnel, but you cannot really underestimate these challenges we are having in the southeast, particularly in Imo. And look at what transpired last week. That is still another issue. So I think it's not going to be an easy situation.
Oh, well, you may mention the fact that it's not going to be an easy situation, but let's look at the fact that we just have 3 states as compared to when the entire country, was in the poll. But don't you see that will give a whole lot of attention to INEC leadership to make sure that they are able to tackle this headlong in terms of making sure that nothing goes wrong? Because just 3 states, or do you think that is also overwhelming for the INEC leadership?
No, I don't think it will be overwhelming. It's just about doing the right thing at the right time. Even the overall elections we have had, I don't think they were actually overwhelming. It's a matter of doing what is right at when due. So even if it's just a local government election, if they want to do the right thing, they have all the finances, they have all the technology to do the right thing. So I'm not perturbed by the fact that because we had a general election recently and we all knew what happened, it's an excuse to saying they didn't do well. But however, I still feel that let's see how it goes. Although they've assured, INEC has assured 90% preparation, and let's see how it goes.
Well, it's not just all about INEC, but let's look at the security agencies. Even the NSA, National Security Advisor, in person of No Ribadu, has also assured Nigerians that it's going to be there will be more security, tight security in those angles.
Yes, yes. I think.
Can you also take that as a worthy recognition from the NSA?
Very well, very well. And I think this is the first election being conducted since the inauguration of the new administration. Okay. So I think they still have a lot of reputation to build and a lot of things at stake. Ribadu severally has said that they are not, the presidency won't kind of, they won't interfere. Yeah. That it's going to be free and fair. And for somebody of high repute as Ribadu is, I think...
you can give it to him?
I can give it to him, yeah.
Well, again, let's look at Kayode Egbetokun, the Inspector General of Police, who also said in that direction, about 220 vehicles have been deployed again, in addition to what they had in the 3 states to tackle issue of insecurity. What's your thought in that? Do you see that as enough or still lacking?
No, not really. I think the personnel and the vehicles they've deployed is enough to man the 3 states anyway.
So that we don't over-militarize.
Yes, yes. Because sometimes...
raise tension.
Yes, sometimes when there are too many security personnel in an environment or in a situation, most times it has an adverse effect on the electorate too.
Yeah, the voters.
Yes, because you can imagine maybe the eve of the election, not every street being manned by policemen or soldiers and all. You can see, you agree with me that most parents will still tell their children that are of age to stay back and say, because I would do it too, I might do it in a way of giving protection to my children. So I think we don't really have to have this manned or every street security, all because we are conducting an election. But I think they've all tried, and Saturday is just behind the corner. We'll see. Okay,
a lot was said by the NLC over what transpired on the assault of the NLC President Joe Ajero. The brutalization of the NLC president was a brutality to the organized labor, and the affiliates, all that has to do with, labor. But again, in a way of bringing relief in that direction, the IGP answered one of the demands of the NLC, by redeploying the Commissioner of Police, Mohammed Bade. How do you agree that?
On the issue of the brutalization of the NLC president that happened last week, I think to be precise, 1st of this month, last Wednesday, personally, I was surprised about when I heard the development. I was surprised because we know that it is a lawful activity, protesting. It's a civic right. But however, I still feel that what transpired that day is more than what we can actually just see or hear from the newspapers. Because first of all, he went to Imo State to galvanize some kind of awareness to his people to support his union.
Most especially as regards the unpaid salaries.
Yes, as regards the unpaid salary.
Of some of the workers.
Yes, of some of
they call them ghost workers.
Okay, that's what they said anyway. And we have had a different version of testimony from that of the ruling party and the opposition, and from the Ajero himself. Like I said in one fora on Monday, I said it was a very wrong thing for him to choose that time to embark on such a protest or awareness. Because in the first place, we know the security challenges bedeviling Imo State or the Southeast in general. So this is not the best time for anybody to go there and stir trouble, all in the name of union or party or whatever. Because in the first place, you are going there to talk on the issue of your workers. Why don't you just wait till after election before you go, if it was not politically motivated? So that is where the issue is. He went there. I'm not justifying his brutalization anyway. I'm not in any way in support of that. But most times, people should try, or Nigerians should try as much as possible, because we don't have any other country other than this country. So we should not go to a particular place all in the name of one or two personal gains to stir trouble. If he was killed that day, what would have happened?
Oh, well, I don't think that this conversation would be for a blame game anyways, but let's look at the aspect that you said it was never a good time to have done that. Is there ever a time? Does the provision of the law, spell out the time at which protests can be done peacefully? I don't think provision of the law have done that. You are not a custodian of the law, neither I am. But let's look at what transpired in terms of affecting the polls negatively. Because a lot has been said in that direction, and even the governor of the state, Hope Uzodimma, said by his media aide that he was not involved in the arrest or brutalization of the NLC president. Now, that has come and gone, and the commissioner of police has been redeployed, which by the IG, to a great extent that brings some relief. But do you see that as out of the troubles of impacting the election negatively?
No, not really. Not really. I won't say it has.
It will impact negatively.
It will impact negatively, because I think the redeployment of the commissioner of police just to kind of do some kind of tension, since fingers have been pointed to his men as regards the brutalization. Although they denied it anyway, that actually they took him away based on his own personal safety. But who knows? Who knows? But however, I think what the IGP has done is partially what is right, to redeploy who has been accused of ills doings in the police force.
At least he attended to one of the demands of the NLC. I think yes, of course, because one of the demands was that the commissioner of police should be removed.
Yes. That's just to douse the tension.
To douse tension.
Yes, because it's very...
So it's a welcome development.
Very well. Irrespective of anything, in the force, where
even
there
though
are allegations,
yes,
the best thing is to remove the person and replace, so that proper investigation or findings can be...
Yeah, even though the IG has said that they've not found him guilty of any of the allegations being peddled, by the union against the commissioner of police. But, well, let's see how we unravel that in the course of the conversation. Don't forget, we're looking at the off-season governorship polls taking place in Kogi, Bayelsa, and, of course, Imo states coming up this Saturday, November 11. We'll take a short break, after which we're extending frontiers of the discussion. Stay.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thank you for your audience. I know that you glued there, and it's awesome to know that you're still with us on TMI Tuesday, and I am Philip Omogyupo. Well, while we had a break, we were opportune to be joined by a seasoned lecturer of Political Science Department in the University of Benin. He is a political scientist by that, and he is Neville Obahedo. Thanks for coming, Neville.
Thank you for having me, ITV. Good morning, viewers and listeners at home.
I know you have it smooth sail coming to the studio today. All traffic congestions?
I had a slight logistic challenge.
Okay, that we can take off record. Okay, now let's look at your bite in terms of what is happening. We have this whole road being hit by issues on the off-season governorship polls taking place in these 3 states as mentioned earlier. What's your bite, most especially as we're still on Imo, and what that has to do with issues of insecurity? Do you see INEC being overwhelmed?
in the first instance, the off-cycle elections in Nigeria, whether in Imo State, in Kogi State, whether in Bayelsa State, whether in Anambra State, whether in Ekiti State, whether in Ondo State, whether in Osun State, all of them put together, they are an indictment on, number one, the political class, and number two, the Independent National Electoral Commission, because it is on the basis of the manipulation of the electoral process by a combination of these two, the institution of the state that is supposed to be an impartial umpire, and the political class with their supporters who are supposed to play by the rules. And so the alteration of the normal circular election in Nigeria that has brought us to this level of cycle elections is an indictment. And we believe that the political class in these states will learn from history so that they will not repeat history. Because if the elections are so manipulated and somebody is sworn in as a governor, the court process will still reverse this same off-cycle process. Be that as it may, I have learned on the basis of my professional knowledge and expertise that election anywhere in the world is war. It may not be shootout war, but there's element of shootout war. Election has come to represent conflict, not just conflict of ideas or conflict of ideology, but conflict of interest that make many people, many gladiators, to want to go the extra mile. It is this extra mile that has brought us to this off-cycle election. Now, we believe that with all that has happened, even in the presidential election in Nigeria, INEC, as the impartial umpire, and the political parties would have learned not to waste the time of the society and waste resources to begin to say they want to right the wrongs of an election, when from the beginning they laid the foundation for the wrongs of the election. Now we believe that the people of these states, the people of Bayelsa State, the people of Kogi State, and the people of Imo State, we know they are Nigerians, they are not living in space. We believe that they must have learned from the mistakes of the previous elections from 1999 to date. And they would like to improve on their own elections. If they fail to do so, it will be goodbye Celia and welcome Charybdis. That's my initial take on that. We're talking about what happened in Imo State in terms of attack on NLC president, Comrade Ajaero. There should be a line of distinction between politics and labor unionism. If you want to be a labor union activist, you have to study the labor laws and see where government is failing to apply the law. You antagonize government about that. But when it is the issues of politics, you have to be very diplomatic because you are not a politician. If you now fall into the political arena, as if you want to use labor unionism because of the mass support and the mass membership, to want to now begin to campaign for a particular political party, you are just laying foundation for conflict. And it's the conflict that may even guillotine you or may even destroy you.
But to set the record right, that wasn't what transpired. It wasn't for the purpose of campaigning, but to agitate for the demands of the workers in Imo State.
When you talk about agitating for the demands of the people, there are times and seasons, and there are laws that govern times and seasons. when a governor, for instance, or a president, for instance, or a local government chairman, for instance, and in the case of Imo State, a governor who has been trying to ensure that there is peace in the state, who has been trying to ensure that the people of the state enjoy dividends of democracy, despite the volatile nature of that state in recent time, because of the issues of IPOB and unknown government. And in any case, let me emphasize the fact that those who want to capture power, they are always violent. And those who want to retain power are also violent. There's element of violence in the process of wanting to capture political power or wanting to retain political power. And so if a governor, a city governor, who is contesting for a rerun, or a city president contesting for a rerun, or a local government chairman contesting for a rerun, that is for a second tenure, and then somebody comes who is supposed to be a neutral umpire, if he's having any political affiliation, it should not be known in the public, and the person comes in the name of unionism to want to rubbish the government that is seeking a re-election, is an invitation to violence.
Are you trying to justify the...
No, I'm not justifying. I'm only telling you that there are political theories to back up this argument. It is the power theory.
They say to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yes.
And a situation where, you know, you get a position as the #1 citizen of a state, and then the onus lies on you to make sure that you attend to the nitty-gritty about, you know, governance, and most especially as it pertains to the workers. A situation where some workers are still unpaid, isn't that enough to look at a way or a timing, you know, where the government's attention can be drawn to these demands? That could be the reason why, it chose that timing.
No, even though I'm not trying to stand in for Governor Opus or Dima, but I'm trying to let you know that even in law, there's what we call procedural law. And I believe that in labor law as well, there's procedural law. That is to say, certain conditions that must be met before certain actions can be taken by labor unions. When you fail to do so, the other day, you hear that government is telling you that if you are back on, they are telling unions, including the union that I belong to, that if you are back on industrial action the next time, the government will apply the no work, no pay rule. And there was a statement that was credited to Mr. President. In all fairness to Mr. President, tried to assuage the sufferings of labor unions that went on strike and were not paid. But the president went outside his own presidential powers because there are laws that govern labor relations. For instance, if I belong to a labor union and you are the organization, we have agreement together, you did not implement the agreement, and I'll be writing to you procedurally to let you know that the agreement that we signed, you have not honored the agreement. We may be forced to proceed on industrial action to press you to honor the demand. If you now fail to accede to the demands that are contained in the document and the union goes on strike, the no work, no pay rule does not apply because you are the one that laid the foundation for that crisis.
Well, we don't have the right guest to analyze that anyway.
No, it's a message. It's a message.
Yes,
it's a message I'm sending to those who are...
If you talk about that, then we will be visiting the provisions of the law.
Yes.
And we will be having, experts
no, even though I'm not a lawyer.
But quickly,
you can call me when
quickly drive your point home in this direction.
Yeah, the point I'm trying to make is that there is no sitting president, no sitting governor, no sitting local government chairman, no person that is seeking for a rerun that will wait and see somebody that's supposed to be a neutral person in an electoral process coming to your domain to begin to whip up sentiment and to begin to say, oh, you have not been paid, now it's time for you to vote out this government. If they have not been paid, they know the procedure to follow to get their salary, and not using a political platform for labor unionism. It is dangerous. And the example that we are pointing at in Imo State is a message to those who may want to follow that.
Why we will quickly exit from this conversation as per the brutality and look into other areas. But
no, I condemn the brutality as well.
Okay, I'll come back to you on that brutality. But I want you to react to what he said. I remember you said earlier that maybe the timing wasn't right, But we don't have the provisions of the law that talks about what time it should be done. Now, what has happened. Now, from what he said, do you see him or what he said as a way of giving the impression that this came from the government of Imo State, even though the governor through the media aid has said that he wasn't involved in that? I want you to tackle his statement.
Actually, one cannot vividly say that the brutality or the manhandling of the NSC president was masterminded by the government of Uzodimma anyway, because one cannot. One party is saying this, the other one is saying that, and most of these things we are reading it from the newspapers who were not actually there. But even at that, like I have said earlier, before he joined, that it was bad timing. It was bad timing, and the government of the day might have seen it to be a partisan move, because how can you, for example, under unionism, you are putting the electorate on the issue of they have not been paid. Even at the end of the day, the media aide to the governor said that those owned by the state are federal workers, not even state workers. They denied that fact already too.
Okay. But again, what really greets my my surprise is the fact that we are talking in this direction, because the governor has said that through the aid that he was not involved in the arrest or brutality. Yeah. So why still give fetters to this argument that it could be that the timing is wrong, and for someone seeking a re-election in the person of Hope Uzodimma, that could mean a whole lot, and he will want to really tackle it from that end. You said, I'll come back to you, but you said that in that direction. Are you by this giving an impression that the governor or the state government is involved in this brutality?
Well, you will see that in governance, there are many people who are not directly involved in government, but they benefit from government.
Oh.
And so sometimes they can do anything in the name of the government.
Okay.
Now let me give you an instance.
Without even the approval of the state government?
Yes. For example, if you are working for somebody and the person is the one that is paying your bills, helping you to maybe take care of your family, and then you get to a place where you see that somebody is descending on your boss, descending on him unjustifiably, you will not fold your hands. You may not be violent, but you are going to make certain statements that will rubbish what that person is saying about your boss or about your place of work. So, but in a political process, as I said earlier, violence is part of electioneering. And it is not only in Nigeria, it's elsewhere around the world. You see that violence is inherent in the electoral process.
If you say violence is part of electioneering,
yes,
do you seem to suggest that it can be done without violence?
When I talk about,
you seem to say that it's a sorry state of our present fight, in the democratic setting.
No, when I say violence, it's not necessarily shootout war or destruction, arson, harassment of the opposition. There are various forms of violence. We have psychological violence in the electoral process. We have structural violence in the electoral process. We have spiritual violence in the electoral process. We have various forms of violence. We have intellectual violence.
Okay.
Now, all these violences put together, if you like, they are part of the electoral process. Now, it's dependent on the reasoning and the intellect of those that want to perpetrate the violence. Are you getting it? There was a day I went on a research survey to a particular campaign of a particular political party. I just wanted to sample opinion in a donut. So while I was talking with some of the party leaders that I was familiar with, getting information from them, a person of an opposition party had done a vehicle with the signal of his own political party and came to the venue. He was now greeting people that he was familiar with. Meanwhile, the leaders of the party were at the podium. But the lieutenants, the supporters, saw him as somebody who came to insult the political party that was organizing a rally there. And they descended on him. It took the intervention of the leaders, the political leaders of that political party who heard of what happened, that came to say, leave this man. Are we getting it?
All right.
If that were to be reported, they will say this political party attacked so person.
So by that you mean that mayhem could have been done by the supporters?
Yes, the mayhem could have been done by the supporters, number one. The mayhem could have been done by the governor. But you know that those that are in government,
okay,
they have spokespersons, intellectual spokespersons,
okay,
that will normally they will set machinery in motion to deny involvement of government in any act of violence or any act that will pay the government in bad light.
Okay, do you see what has transpired as a threat to negatively impact the polls in Imo?
Well, the people of Imo State, they know their governor. They know whether he has performed or whether he did not perform. Even though some people refer to him as a Supreme Court governor. I disagree with some people. Because even while we entered this studio just now, somebody made a statement by the sideline that Imo State governor is Supreme Court governor. And I want to quickly say that when the Electoral Act is passed into law, made by the National Assembly, which is the legislature, is passed into law for the executive, which is INEC, to implement. When there are issues with that election, it is the judiciary, the three organs of government, they must perform their function. It is the judiciary that will now interpret and correct the error in the process of implementing the law that was made by the legislature, that was executed by the executive. Now, if I contest election, in the case of Uzodinma, with another political party, other political parties, and I was rigged out of the election. Election is local. Election is not conducted on the internet. Election is tied to polling units. And the results of the election are contained in Form EC8A. And the results were declared in favor of another person. And the man came up to say before the tribunal, this is evidence that I won the election. And the tribunal said no to it. It goes to Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal says no to it. The man goes to the Supreme Court to say that both the tribunal and the Court of Appeal, they perpetrated miscarriage of justice. The documents are presented before them.
That came from the polls?
Yes, that came from the polling unit.
Okay.
The due credence was not given to them by the trial court, which is the tribunal, and then the appeal court, which is the court below.
So it would be wrong for them to say that it's the governor of the Supreme Court.
You now have the right to right the wrongs of the earlier two courts. And in the Supreme Court, in their own wisdom, they look at and you know that all those justices of the Supreme Court, they migrated from the High Court to the Court of Appeal and then to the Supreme Court. So they are jurists with wisdom, Socratic wisdom. Their judgment may not be perfect like the judgment that God will pass on human beings, but they would have looked at the miscarriage of justice of both the tribunal and the Court of Appeal. And if in the case of Uzodinma, they saw that there was error in the judgment of the Court of Appeal.
Okay.
Then, and the man is declared the governor. An educated person will not say the man is Supreme Court. It's not.
Okay, thank you. For us not to digress further, let's see how this.
So what the question you asked me, I needed to digress to answer the question.
So let's see how this will impact the polls for Saturday.
The people of Imo State, they know their governor, Senator Uzodinma.
Yeah.
They know the expectation from the governor. If the governor had delivered according to their expectation, on the day of the election, they shall return him as their governor. But if the governor did not deliver on the basis of their expectation, they shall vote the governor out, irrespective of what happened between Labour Party, I beg your pardon, between NSC president and some supporters of the government, even though the government had denied it. Okay,
let's look at the security, because we dealt a lot, before we had Neville Obagedo joining us, but we see like in Bayelsa State, for instance, that has riverine terrain, where they will need a provision of gunboats, to convey electoral officials and the materials. That seems to be a very hot spot, you know, where electoral malpractices can take place, or where a lot of thefts or a lot of hoodlums, you know, can also give in to the process to make sure that such don't happen in terms of conducting credible polls. What do you see as a result of the ability of the, you know, Marine Police, you know, Navy, you know, and such like, to tackle this issue in terms of the terrain in Bayelsa, as it is like?
Considering the terrain, like you have earlier said, is a concern too, and I think they've been able to deploy a lot of attention to that aspect of it, because Bayelsa, we know, is a riverine area, and some local government like Bonny and about 3 or 4 local governments in Bayelsa are really riverine, and conveying materials to these areas is a big challenge. But I think the police and the INEC officials are not new to that area. We have had cases in, we have had elections in Bayelsa earlier, and it has never been too bloody. So
are you trying to say that they are on top of the situation, yes, like they always say?
Yes, that's what they will always say anyway. And that's what, but it depends on the outcome. Although they have already assured Nigerians once again that the use of BVAS and all of that technology will be in place. And whereby the BVAS is being used, transmission of results from polling units, so you cannot really tamper with results when they are collating or when they are taking it to a collating center. It will now be a kind of automatic registration on it to look at, to see that the results are well displayed on time. Because in the first place, if there are elections in all this riverine area, returning materials to different local governments of collating will be a different challenge, and insecurity might disturb pumping and all that. But if they are able to, like they have assured us, they've been able to transmit results from each polling unit, I think attention will not be much on the issue of the hard copy of
Now, if you look at what has been said by the INEC leadership under Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, he did say that the glitches of the past election, you know, are well taken care of in the forthcoming polls in November, coming up November 11, the off-season. Neville, you are a political scientist, and some have said that, well, from history, it has always been difficult for the people to have confidence in the electoral umpire in terms of statement credited to the leadership. Will you say this could be different this time for the umpire and the people's confidence?
In the first instance, the electoral process in Nigeria is guided by law. The Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, and the Electoral Act 2010 as amended in 2022. Now, I want to say that any statement that's made by the INEC chairman that is not in line with the law, the statement is null and void ab initio. Because the other day I saw that certain statement, press conferences statement that he made, where the video clips were brought before court as evidence. The question is, were they in line, the statement, were they in line with the law? If they are not in line with the law, the court will not even place any probative value on such statements.
Exactly what transpired.
Yes. So right now as we speak, we are talking about Bayelsa State, and the INEC chairman is making statements. The statement that he's making, are they in line with the law? If they are not in line with the law, what happened before will happen? The issue, what the people of Bayelsa State need to know, they don't need an INEC national chairman for them to conduct their election peacefully. They need the people of Bayelsa to conduct their own election peacefully and determine who becomes their governor. They can either make it or they mar it with violence. And as I said earlier, election is local. Because election is local, a city governor, like Donye Diri, for instance, He will go to his polling unit and go and register his name there for the election. We vote there. And all the political parties are having their agents there. Now, it behooves the agent of each political party to jealously guide the result of their polling unit, as they are going to be contained in Form C8A, and then they monitor the result that is uploaded. In their situation room, all the political parties are supposed to have their situation room in Yenagoa, where they are going to be matching polling unit by polling unit result with the result that will be uploaded on INEC website or IREF. By that, they will be able to determine the outcome of the election, even before INEC will announce the result. But if they go to sleep and they'll be waiting for video clips of violence that were perpetrated maybe in Sagbama or in Otweke or in Yenagua local government and other local government, they will be disappointed at the end of the day. Because the election is local, election takes place in every polling unit. All agents of each of the political parties, whether the ruling PDP in that state, whether APC, whether Labour Party, should monitor the election, monitor the security agent, and monitor INEC officials. Now, talking about Bayelsa State, because Bayelsa State is a very volatile state because of the riverine nature.
Of course, yes.
Yes. There is a tendency that certain security breaches will happen in Bayelsa. In the process, for instance, of taking result from one place to another through speedboat, and then you will hear that the speedboat was attacked.
That's why we would need the attention of the Marine Police.
Yes. Now, when we talk about
we need the attention of the Navy, you know.
You talk about. Yes. You talk about. There was a paper that we wrote, myself and my senior colleague. We wrote a paper on the governorship election of April 17 or so, 2007. And in that a research article based on our physical presence and monitoring of the election, we saw that different categories of people or actors, even state actors, connive with the supposed impartial umpire to perpetrate electoral violence and manipulation of that election. We saw some elements of the traditional institution conniving with INEC in that election. We saw security agents like the police conniving with INEC in that election. We saw even ad hoc staff of INEC conniving with INEC to perpetrate manipulation of the electoral process. Of course, the recommendations of the article later played out in the writing of the rules of the election. And we know that this is what is playing out in certain other places to date. We hope that the people of Bayelsa State will rise to the occasion to say no to violence, to say no to manipulation, and to ensure that the wish of the people will be the outcome of this election that is coming up so a few days away from now.
Okay, but do you see voter apathy as another challenge that will be popping up in the forthcoming polls?
I do not see any voter apathy because I remember that the people of Bayelsa State elected a man of the All Progressive Congress in the last election, governorship election. But because of this issue of court, some days, I think a day before the inauguration, the governor, because of the error of the deputy governorship candidate, elected deputy governor, the governor-elect, the two of them were set parking because they were on the same mandate. So the people of Bayelsa have been waiting to ensure that their mandate, that the court withdrew, is restored. So if there have been voter apathy in other elections in Bayelsa State, this governorship election, I tell you the truth, that there will be no voters apathy because they want to see if they can get their mandate back to the All Progressive Congress.
Okay, let's get your bite on that. Do you agree with him? Because we've already analyzed that, but let's see your bite in this as per Bayelsa, if there will be voter apathy.
Like he has said, I don't think so, because although irrespective of his submission about the people getting their mandate back. I think the turnout of that election depended on the performance of the sitting governor. If the sitting governor actually performed in 4 years, I think the issue of remembering what transpired 4 years ago would not be their thoughts, you know. So I still feel that it depends on the performance of the incumbent governor that would have a role to play in the turnout of the election.
Okay, let's look at the aspect of thuggery because it's quite mind-blowing, and was following reports about how even the PDP candidate in Kogi State, Dinomilai, you know, was trading words with that of his APC counterpart last Thursday, and emanating stories are showing that there could be, as allegations have it, there could be importation of thugs from neighboring states of Kogi, for instance. And we can't eliminate that from other states in this election. Now, what do you see as the bite of politicians in this and the seemingly inability of the law to really, prosecute these politicians? Because year in, year out, we keep having the laws being read out, you know, to the political actors and the need for them to stay on check. But at the end of the day, issues happen, and they seem to get off the hook. Now, what do you make of this in the present governorship polls coming Saturday?
To be particular on the issue of what is happening in Kogi State, and like he has said earlier, that there's always violence in an electoral process. This verbal war between candidates or between one particular party to another, it's not a peculiar thing. It's a kind of a national characteristics of politicians in this country.
We even have it outside the shores of the country, like people who develop politics.
Yes,
you know.
But to some extent, there is still a little bit transformed. It's not as attacking as it is here.
Really?
Yeah. You can see during the time of Trump and Clinton, Trump had some words that were not appropriate, but there was still some garnishment, some kind of when he was referring to female Clinton during their time of election. But here you see, you see the attack to be very, very personal, aggressive, and if possible damaging. You know, like I always tell some people.
You made mention of Trump. Sorry to cut in. You made mention of Trump. Can you critically look at the outburst of that personality? Can you see a resemblance of a Nigerian politician?
A little bit, a little bit, a little bit, a little bit.
Okay.
So on the issue of the anticipated violence or people importing thugs from neighboring states to Kogi or Imo,
and how do we nip it in the bud?
The truth of the matter is that in a situation whereby, you know, a particular crime, Philip, a particular crime is supposed to be transient. When I mean transient, it's supposed to have a kind of a short life span. This issue of electoral violence and manipulations, we already have it in our table to be a challenge. Why is it difficult for us to combat it? That is the biggest problem we are having in this country. We already know that thuggery is a challenge towards an election. We already know that stealing of ballot boxes, changing of figures. Why is it that these issues that are already tabled, that are already identified, are not addressed? That is the problem. Because in order, like he has said, it's not only a Nigerian thing alone to have some of these issues. But you see, in a developed world, once a particular crime is identified, they handle it well and it is minimized, it is, if not stopped totally. Why is it that this issue of, next year we are going to be having the issue of Edo election, and if possibly Ondo. this same issue we are analyzing now in Bayelsa, Kogi, or possibly...
We'll come to the round table and also analyze it.
You understand? So it's becoming... you understand? So it's not good.
All right.
A particular crime has been identified to be, oh, this is one of the things we'll expect. Why is it that our law enforcement agents don't focus on this particular crime, on how, if not eliminated, to be minimized?
Thank you, I14 Mogbe, and big thanks to you, Neville Obakedo. Well, a lot has been said, and we're still talking. Well, it's about the issues of the off-season polls that has taken place at Kogi State, Bayelsa, and of course Imo. And we will be visiting the aspect of the menace that happened in elections, like vote buying, for instance, vote selling, vote buying, you know, and issues about security agents that may be looking the other way while all of these are really happening. And the aspect about ballot box snatching. Well, we need to minimize all of this, and looking at this, we will be extending frontiers in this discussion after this break. Do stay with us.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Still about the off-season elections in Kogi, Bayelsa, and Imo states, and I still have the distinguished personalities with me as my guests. Neville Obakedo, a lecturer at University of Benin, political scientist, and a financial influencer in the person of Omogbe I14. Thanks for sustaining the conversation. Now, let's delve into vote buying. Neville is a political scientist, and I started by saying that because a lot has been said about how the polity, Nigerian polity is, and about the electoral values we have in terms of vote buying, vote selling, the minds of the public or the voters in this direction. A test of that to see if there is a minimal level of vote buying in the previous election was conducted. And the result was alarming. But let's look at the coming polls. You know, do you see vote buying as what will also characterize the polls for November 11, Neville?
Well, this subject matter of vote buying is usually surprising to me, because I believe that those that the crafters of the law supposed to have called it vote marketing.
Vote marketing.
Yes, or vote, or vote merchandising, because it is a phenomenon that have the toga of economic relations that's based on demand and supply. Now, if there is no willingness of voters or the electorate to sell their votes, then there will be no politician that will have votes to buy.
You seem to be blaming the electorate, or you seem to be putting the motivation of politicians to do that.
It's not a matter of blaming anybody.
But again, what about wooing? Who are those who woo the electorate?
The issue is that it's not a matter of blaming anybody.
And looking at the economy,
it's a matter of a relationship.
The state of the economy that could also give rise to such.
It's a matter of relationship. Both the political leaders who will solicit for votes to buy, and those that will be willing to sell the votes, they are living in the same environment. There's no Berlin Wall or any maximum security wall that separates the political leaders from the electorate. They are all in the same environment.
Dichotomy.
Yeah, so they can easily be assessed. Now, from community to community. Now, whether it is because of the present state of the economy or not, vote buying has been there from time immemorial. In all political dispensations in Nigeria, there have been vote buying. And now, this issue of vote buying that we are even talking about, we tend to limit our analysis to election day vote buying. Vote buying and vote selling, or what I refer to as vote marketing, is more than that. Now, politicians lay the foundation for vote buying in their political parties when they want to get delegates for their political parties. They put a structure of those that they can easily appeal to with money and resources to get elected as the candidate of the political party.
And even in the previous reports showed that some were wooed in dollars.
So when you hear that, for instance, a major political parties want to conduct their presidential primaries, and they are in Abuja,
in their hotel rooms, maybe.
Yes,
be going
yes,
on
in their hotel rooms, and they are coming from different parts of the country. They would have paid them their etiquette. Each of the aspirants would have given money to those delegates to pay for their ticket, to pay for their hotel, and even to give them like a souvenir, take home, that will make the family to know that yes, my husband or my wife went for political primaries. That is vote buying before the main election.
And the challenge here is that we have anti-graft agencies that seem to be having a challenge in getting this nipped in the bud. What do you think?
You see, I did a paper on the tragedy of an appropriated state. I've already published one. Another version of that paper is in the offing. The tragedy of an appropriated state. The first one has been written. Now, the second one, the tragedy of an appropriated state, number 2. Now, I listened to a video where Professor Dean Kalu, former Federal Character, National Character Commission chairman.
Okay.
He was talking about the judiciary and how highly placed justices in Nigeria help to recruit their children, their relatives, and their in-laws as judges of state courts, state high courts, federal high court, court of appeal, and even the Supreme Court. He mentioned names of justices, both serving and those that have retired, who help to recruit their people into the judiciary. Now, there are 2 ways you can look at it. If they are qualified and their people are in a position to influence their appointment, why not? In another way, if they are appointed, are they appointed to go and do the right thing? How were their own parents appointed? What led me to that is the tragedy of an appropriated state. The article I said we are published, and that one is in the offing. Now, you see that recruitment into public institutions is characterized with corruption, including the anti-graft agency you are talking about.
Or do you seem to think that there's no way out of this? Because the essence of this forum is to seek ways out and how to nip it in the bud.
No, I'm not saying that there's no way out. I'm just trying to lay the foundation that when you are saying anti-graft should be able to solve this problem, the people that are the politicians, they are the people who brought their people to occupy position in the anti-graft. So somebody that is a finger that fed you, how do you just muster the courage to bite the finger? Are you getting it? These are some of the issues that you see playing out there.
So that could also reduce their efforts in tackling this.
Yes, they will know that something like that is happening, but they will not have the courage. Because they believe that if they take steps to say, oh, this is the law, we are going to implement the law, they are going to either be suspended or their appointment will be terminated. So they pretend as if they are working, whereas they are not working, they are seeing what is happening, but they cannot do anything about it.
So what you say is that it's going to be another challenge again in this coming polls.
Yes, it's going to be another challenge. In this poll, in Imo State, there will be vote selling and vote buying.
Except the electorate refuse.
Yes, unless they refuse
sell.
and they say no, we must vote the candidate of our choice. You see the slogan of some politicians now, they will say they will be telling the electorate in the process of campaign that they are going to bring money to come and pay. They say they want to buy your vote. Just collect the money and vote your conscience. How can you collect money from somebody to say, I'm collecting money for you to vote for you? And then you still go and vote your conscience. You don't have conscience again. Okay. Because you have just sold your conscience.
Okay, I'll come back to you. In previous election, we saw vote buying in different ways, as been reported. It now translated into even having them as bags of rice, little packs, onions, and such like wrappers. Now, which seem to make us have this mind-boggling challenge that When are we going to get it right in terms of taking or exiting this menace from our electoral process? But do you still concur with him that there seems to be, there will be a repeat of this, or do you think it will be minimized? What's your thought?
Like I said earlier, when a situation or a particular crime is identified,
yeah,
and there's no clear-cut attention on how to reduce that particular crime or eliminate it if it can be done, you see it reoccurring again.
Yes.
We have a situation in this country where people are not, no consequences for wrongdoing. So by virtue of that, whether it's vote buying or changing of election result or switching off beavers during an election, it has to do with this issue of no consequence. In the university environment, if you are caught in an examination malpractice, the first thing you meet the disciplinary committee.
Yes, of course.
And there will be consequences. Either you are rusticated for 1 year or
serve as a deterrent to others.
We have seen a situation whereby we see politicians buying voters, or as the case may be, giving money for electorate to vote on election day. Policemen will be there.
Keeping blind eye.
Keeping blind eyes. So it's an understatement if you ask if it will still repeat itself. Without even thinking about it, we know it will. It is going to, because it has become a situation whereby it has become the standard even. Let me use the word. It has become a standard.
But under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, don't you think this could be a different swing into the action of ensuring that vote buying doesn't continue?
And let us look at, most times I'm not trained to believe what people say. I look at you to say, oh, Philip, what have you said about a particular thing? Then I will say, okay, let that scenario play out. Then I will now say, let's see, we have a few days down to
just 4 days.
4 days to Saturday. Let's see if the assurance given by the presidency will be in place. But however, let us be very, very clear in this issue. It is not only the winners in Nigerian elections that normally buy votes. It's a kind of where this particular party is doing their own, this one is doing, this one is. It's just an issue of the most criminal gets the day. Kind of. Because they are all doing the same thing. Like one forum I was, we're not talking about the issue of the last presidential election manipulations. How the purported APC government has been believed by the general public that they manipulated the presidential election. And I asked that I was in a place on that day whereby the other political party actually were still manipulating too. So it's an issue of. So
it was not unique to a particular party.
A particular party.
It was across board.
If you even see normally it's always at your stronghold. It's always at your stronghold. The manipulation is always at your stronghold. So you cannot tell me Labour Party in the last presidential election.
No. We excuse you from saying that. The information on the parties and all that as regards that menace.
So, however, institutions should be strengthened to some of these so that they can nip the boot by the
nip it in the bud. Okay, now let's look at the overriding influence of the central government. I mean, the federal government in this polls. Some have always said that under the present leadership of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as president, a lot of things can happen, being who he has been, in terms of his ability to make things happen. Do you still think that there could be an overriding influence?
We are talking about what we, in politics, what we term presidential might. When they say it's going to this particular party, because they are the federal, they are going to deploy presidential might. But we cannot actually rule that one out. Definitely the ruling party at the federal would definitely support their party at the governorship level. But having to manipulate or deploy security men to support his own
or influence it in a direction that could favor the party.
And it's, this
you don't see that pulling through.
This is the first election. I think we should just be patient to see if actually
because whatever happens now will be a turn that we'll also look at in Edo State coming next year. And a lot of intrigues are already emanating from the ripples, that will be taking place next year. Let's get your thoughts in all of this, as we call it, Arab Neville Obakedo.
Well, I believe that it is not the office of the president that determines who becomes the governor of a state. It is the citizens and the electorate of that state that determine who becomes their governor. And so the people of Imo State should not allow the office of the president and commander-in-chief of this country to determine who becomes their governor.
Not just Imo State.
Yes, Imo State. Well, yes. The people of Bayelsa State should not allow the office of the president to determine who becomes their governor. The people of Kogi State should not allow the office of the president to determine who becomes their governor. The president in his ability, the president is not president.
The might of the federal government.
The president of Nigeria is the president of Nigeria. He's not the president of any political party. Even though he's a member of APC, then the APC is the ruling party in Kogi State. The president can support his party, but he should not use the office of president to influence the outcome of the election in any of the states, including Imo State, where APC is also in government. So it is the people of the state, the citizens, and the electorate. And so this discussion is like a call, it's a clear call on the people of the state to vote and defend their vote. They should not have the fear that because external influence. Because when President Jonathan was there, Edo State came under ACN. When Goodluck Buhari was there, Osun State came under PDP. And so there are so many examples like that. So we cannot now say because Tinubu of APC is president, APC is now going to sue the pool. It is the people of the state that
Edo State will be taking its direction next year.
Yeah,
what are your thoughts?
Edo State governorship election. I would like to throw myself up as a candidate in that election. Permit me to use your platform.
No, you can't use this platform. I won't allow you to do that.
I've been under pressure from my
Let's look at the possibility of having credible polls. I take that as your final conclusion, or do you have anything to say?
We can have credible polls.
Okay.
It must start
on
with
Saturday.
Yes, on Saturday. It must start with the electorate who be ready to defend their vote. And they have to send a message to security agents that they should help the people to ensure that the election is free and fair.
If you say it must start with the electorate, what about starting with INEC leadership to make sure that sensitive materials are deployed?
If I say it must start with the electorate, it is from the electorate that each of the political parties will have what we call state agents who will go to INEC office to follow their materials to all the local government. Okay. And so if for instance, like I was hearing in one particular state, local government election in one state, South Nigeria, that the election materials were given, but the from ECAT, which is the results, were not given. And the agents carried those materials and went away. And they're supposed to know that the election had been concluded because the result sheets were not there. And it's the person who's having results. So all the agents in all the states, starting from Bayelsa State, should ensure that all the materials for the election are complete, and they monitor them and monitor the election.
Okay, thank you, Neville. Your final thoughts on this in 1 minute.
My own would be to the law enforcement agents. They've all been accused most times in our elections to be working in favor of a particular political party. And particularly Nigerian police
force. They've all been accused?
Yes.
Well, that's your opinion.
No, by way of...
that's your opinion anyway.
No, I'm not talking about this platform.
When you say they've all, I'm not in tandem with that.
Most times, politicians will say they connive with...
in their common terms.
In their common terms. Okay. So I think they should try as much as possible to still stir up their performance and be more credible, and so that the trust of Nigerians will increase on them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Iwanfo Omogbe, and big thanks, Neville Obakedo, for taking our time, and biggest thanks to the viewing audience for being with us all through start to finish on the episode TMI today. Well, we do this same time tomorrow. Don't forget, coming shortly will be Business Rendezvous with Lawrence Osifo. I am Philip Omo Gupon, and I'm saying bye for now.